In May last year, a number of English county councils did not hold the elections they were due after the 4-year term. We were assured at the time by the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner it would simply be a 1-year delay, all because of local government reorganisation. And once again in November, when questions were asked of the House, we were told, no, the elections will go ahead. And then suddenly, on the 18th of December, Minister Alison McGovern said this in the House of Commons.
Councils are telling us that where capacity is a problem, postponement would free up resources to be concentrated on local government reorganisation and the delivery of good services. To be clear, should a council say that they have no reason to delay their elections, there will be no delay. If a council voices genuine concerns, we will take these issues seriously and would be minded to grant a delay in those areas.
So basically, if you've served 4 years, or in the case of those delayed last year, 5 years, you don't fancy an election? Well, we'll just postpone it. No problem at all. Well, immediately after that, on December the 19th, James Cleverly came out for the Conservative Party with a sense of outrage.
We should not be cancelling elections. Elections are the foundation stone of democracy, and we absolutely should not be cancelling elections. What we've seen is the Labour government both arrogant and naive and cocky, thinking they can completely restructure English local government.
Well, good to see some principle back in politics, or so I thought, until 2 hours later, when Conservative-controlled East and West Sussex county councils, despite having cancelled last year, announced they'd cancel again this year. Well, Kemi Badenoch was questioned on this today.
Some Conservative leaders have done that. They've said that they're trying to save taxpayers' money by stopping them from having 2 elections in quick successions. They're going to have to explain that. I think they should have those elections. But what you have with me is somebody who works as part of a team. I'm not a dictator. I do want to see elections happen. We are up for them. The public need to have their voices heard. It is our policy, nationally, to have elections where we can. But I also respect the mandate. They have their own mandates. They have their own democratic mandate. And it is when you start seeing people not respecting the democratic mandate, it's weak people who do that.
The democratic mandate has run out. Surely that's the point. Well, could up to 10 million people lose their vote?
This interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN and their New Year deal. New Year, new VPN, and a huge saving of up to 80% if you act now. You're busy planning how to get in shape, but the hackers are planning how to get into your accounts. ExpressVPN locks down your connection so you can start the year protecting your data. This offer ends on the 7th of January, so scan the QR code or click the link in the description now.
I'm joined in the studio by Sir Michael Ellis and Nigel Nelson, but first I'm going to go to Theo Usherwood, freelance political journalist. Theo, you're a great student of political history. I know in 2021, during the pandemic, there were delays to elections. But has anything like this on this scale ever happened before?
We haven't had it on this scale before. So we're looking at 10 million people right across the board in terms of elections. And if you look at actually, there are 2 things to bear in mind here, right? Is the reason that Alison McGovern gave in the House of Commons, indeed a continuation of what the Deputy Prime Minister at the time, Angela Rayner, said with the first delay, that actually councils can't manage the situation of doing the reorganisation and holding elections at the same time, and therefore needs to delay the election? Is that a legitimate reason? Or is there a case that in the case of many of these Labour and Conservative councils, indeed there's some Lib Dem councils as well, that they're running scared? That they're worried that there are going to be these local elections, and having seen what happened in last May's local elections, and of course the threat of your party, Nigel, on reform, actually they're going, hang on a moment, this isn't something we want to vote for, because if we vote for this, if we go ahead with these local elections and there's a vote, then we're all going to be out of a job and we're going to have to find something else to do. And I think that perhaps one of the things that I found most interesting about the table, this is Daily Telegraph research, I should say, that one of the most interesting aspects of this table is with the Liberal Democrats. And actually, the majority of Liberal Democrat councils haven't delayed. They're going ahead with the elections. And of course, why is that? Because they've got nothing to worry about, because they're the polar opposite of reform. Look at what happened down in Devon, for example, last time round. There's a split with the old parties of Labour and the Conservatives getting squeezed out, and the new dynamic evolving between Reform and the Liberal Democrats. And if you look at the evidence, just at what is available from the Telegraph in terms of the research they've done, it's pretty apparent that where there have been delays, like in East Sussex and West Sussex, that it's not necessarily because they're worried about, trying to do two things at once and the cost to the taxpayer. But actually, there's a suspicion that democracy is being, put on hold or denied, depending on your point of view. And actually, there is a delay because these councils don't, these councillors, whether they're Conservative or Tory, Conservative or Labour, I should say, are worried that they're simply going to be out of a job.
Well, in the case of Sussex, it may well be that those that were elected in 2021 as Conservatives, when the party was riding on the crest of a wave, that they will serve 7 years, not 4 years. Yeah. I wonder, is there anything? I mean, if this was America, we'd be protected by a constitution. Yeah. And if they start postponing elections on whatever excuse they're using, is there anything effectively that the public can do?
No, but it is interesting, it's not just the political parties and who are concerned about this. Indeed, the Electoral Commission, I seem to remember, I have a new job, by the way, Nigel, I'm working as a news editor at the Press Association, I should just add. So I'm seeing lots of stories coming in, and I have to be impartial and balanced, of course. But I do remember a story coming in from the Electoral Commission, which is, of course, the body which oversees elections. And they said only in exceptional circumstances should elections be delayed. That's the Electoral Commission. That's not Reform or the Liberal Democrats or anybody of any political persuasion. So there is precedents, and we saw it with the pandemic as well, where elections were delayed simply because, the idea of having people queuing outside town, village halls and schools when, everybody was suffering from the pandemic, there was a need to delay and there was a fear that the virus could spread. But only in exceptional circumstances is there meant to be a delay. And there is just one final thing. There is an important reason why you have political terms of 5 years. If you're Reform or Liberal Democrats or Tories, you set out a mandate to do something. You tell the public, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to have 5 years to do it in. And at the moment, that cycle has come to an end, and those councillors have to go back to the public and say, this is what we've done or what we failed to do, and now you have a vote. And there is a danger that if you simply delay it, the hope is that Reform or the Liberal Democrats, their vote will start to fall down, and then you can find your way back in. And that is a democracy.
No, Theo, thank you very much indeed. Good luck with the new job, and thanks for coming on. Nigel, I spoke to Bob Russell, former veteran Liberal Democrat MP from Colchester. He said the last big local government reorganisation was in 1973, but nobody talked about suspending elections. In fact, the elections became part of the debate about what shape local government should take. There's no real excuse for this, is there?
Well, yes, there is. Well, there's a reason for it, and I think this was always going to happen. The mistake that Labour made was to underestimate the complexities of local government reorganisation.
So how was it possible in 73 to continue and not now?
We're doing a different system, obviously.
We were in 73.
Because we're now having unitary authorities. But the problems they're facing, apart from the really complicated ones like how social care services will work under the new system, which is causing headaches everywhere, to things that look simple but are hard to resolve. So, for instance, if two district councils were going to become a unitary, and one has a council tax of £100 a month, and the other one £150 a month, there is a problem about deciding how you're going to divvy up council tax without upsetting an awful lot of people.
Right. So if come the next general election it's complicated, should we just postpone that for a few years?
Well,
I mean, does voting actually matter?
I mean, the next general election...
7 years these people will have served.
I agree that the preference, obviously, is to have a vote rather than not have a vote. But at the moment, if things now go according to plan, you'll start getting shadow authorities coming in by next year.
Or maybe not.
And then...
Or maybe not.
Well, if they have another problem,
voting
maybe
anymore?
not. No, I mean, that's the other difficulty. If it's still complicated by next year, there'll be another problem we'll be facing.
I tell you what they're planning is such a dog's dinner, it will be complicated. Michael, this just looks like, from the three parties, the most cynical exercise in politics
from Labour,
I think I've ever seen.
Nigel, this is outrageous. It's totally undemocratic. It's avoiding electoral scrutiny. I mean, Nigel's got a good effort there, but frankly, even Labour, their excuse for doing this is to give the councils a bit more time. There's sort of this waffle-like excuse. It has to be really
It could be
extreme.
22 Labour councils, nearly all in the north of England, and they would have lost nearly all of them.
Yes, and the Telegraph done some good work on this, and they've said that many of them they would have lost if those elections go ahead. So you have to say, they're postponing these, they're putting them off for 7-year terms. A lot of these councillors will be getting because they're worried about losing. And the Telegraph found 22 Labour councils, only 2 Tory councils to be fair, but they've still got some time, all of these councils, to decide.
The cut-off point is midnight next Wednesday.
Yeah, so we'll get some more results. But 22 Labour councils said they want to postpone, only 4 said no, 2 Tory councils, 7 said no. And I think Kemi Badenoch was right about what she said there. This is about getting on with it. Those councils should get on with it. That's the right thing to do. What was the word that Margaret Thatcher used when people are scared? What was that?
Frit.
Frit. F-R-I-T. I think they're scared.
So when the Tories come out and say, we are the party of democracy, and then their own councils delay elections, what do we... Well, for the second year in a row...
Well, but there's only 2 that have said...
if you live in Sussex...
2 as opposed to 22.
Michael Ellis says if you live in Sussex, you can go to hell. You may never vote again.
I love Sussex. Look, let me tell you... No, I mean, I think, to be fair, the leader of the party, Tory party, did say they should get on with it. But, out of 22 Labour councils saying no, only 2 Tory ones. But I will say this, I know you like history. General election... 1935 general election, they didn't have another general election until 1945. 10 years, and there was a pretty good reason, I think anyone would agree, that was World War II.
But that's true. What's the reason? But we did have a general election whilst we were still at war with Japan.
Yes, that's right. But of course, 35 to 45, a 10-year term.
Yeah, it was.
That's the sort of... And you look, for example, at other democracies.
But this is not comparable.
No, it isn't. Of course it's not.
The Nazi invasion.
No, of course it isn't. That's my point. That's my point. That's a good reason not to have an election. Just getting a few quangos to do a few more reports is not a good reason to put off elections. So you look at Israel, for example. They've been at war for a couple of years. They've got a general election this year. They don't talk about that. Other democracies get on with it. So this is about millions of votes being denied.
Can you see, Nigel, why people are... And I'm going to come back to Sussex.
OK.
Because this is the second year in a row that this has happened. I mean, can you just see why there's such disenchantment with politics?
Yes, I can. And as I said, I think that voters always deserve an election if it's at all possible. But if you're in a situation where councils are simply not ready for the reorganisation... Look, take our council in Kent, where we both live. So you've got a situation there where the proposal is for 4 unitaries to get rid of all the districts. But at the moment, the reform leadership of Kent County Council, they're talking about 1 unitary for the whole of Kent. Now, we haven't worked out how to go about doing that. Now, OK, we haven't got any elections there now, but even so, it just shows, again, the complications of trying to do this.
Maybe best it was all left alone. I don't know. Well, I have to say, I think the whole thing is very, very cynical indeed. And, if the elections in Kent went ahead last year, why didn't they over the water in Essex? I mean, there's no logic to any of this. None whatsoever.